It is summer in Eku. Welcome to Paris and welcome to Eku Interns Chronicles. My name is Luana.
I'm Edo.
And today we're here to talk about summer movies.
Yeah, before we all leave this summer, we can finally have a podcast together, me and you. And we want to talk about your favorite season and the season I hate the most, summer. It's hot, it's sweaty, and I hate it.
To me, nothing compares like the fresh breeze of summer, the smell of the flowers,
That's spring.
I don't know, flowers outside smell good and that's enough to me. I love the sun brushing my body and being tan. I love everything about summer. It's such a beautiful, beautiful vibe in general. That's why I don't understand why people don't like
I just sweat a lot and don't like sweating. But enough with the sweating, and let's talk about summer movies. Basically, we just want to mention our favorite summer movies, which are not movies that came out in the summer. We're not going to talk about summer blockbuster or anything. We're just going to talk about our favorite films set in the summer or that give a summer vibe or feeling. Or maybe even that we like to watch in the summer. So
definitely, because
get us started.
I feel actually that the season in which films are set also set a lot of the vibe of the film, and it changes a lot the overall look of the film, the colors, the impressions, the feelings. So I don't know, I think summer movies have this very fresh feeling, this kind of hope, and I don't know, it's a feeling that everything can change, either for the best or for the worst.
Which is very funny because I'm gonna talk about horror movies.
I'm gonna talk about romantic movies, dialogue movies, so it's interesting.
I'm gonna ruin the mood.
I mean, horror movies in summer can be also an interesting thing. I don't know, I'm eager to listen to you about your movies, but I'm sure that they were set in summer for a reason.
Yeah, of course they are. Of course they are. Yeah.
So, what do you tell us?
Should I start?
Of course,
okay.
Go ahead.
Well, let's go. Like I mentioned before, summer blockbuster, and I kind of decided to talk about at least one, the one that started it all. Like the perfect summer movies for me is Jaws, which launched the trend of summer blockbuster, but it's also basically a monster movie and a horror movie, but also a thriller and an adventure movie. It's even hard to define it as a horror movie necessarily, even though I 100% think it is. It's basically a slasher movie because like the characters are killed one by one basically by a mysterious killer that's only shown at the end, because you don't really see the shark till the very end of the film. So that's kind of, it works like a slasher, but it's kind of the genius of really young Steven Spielberg, and I'm not a Steven Spielberg fan. Hello, Linus. But the genius is kind of actually to do a lot with little. Like you'll see a very little of the shark, but you feel its presence through the music, the iconic theme, but also the shot underwater, and especially how the characters talk about the shark, react to the presence of the shark without showing the creature itself. And you're right, like the fact that the film is set in the summer is crucial to the film.
Definitely.
Because the beaches are full of people, so the shark is an actual danger, but also the how many people are on them becomes an obstacle to the protagonist itself, and they can kind of face the shark only when it's the three of them on a boat and they got away from the crowd, away from the summer feeling and the island and the tourists and so on, because until they are in a very typically summer setting, they kind of have to face the chaos of the summer together with the creature itself.
Definitely.
So instead of, and naturally it also helps setting the tone. It's like, oh, there is this beautiful island, everyone is enjoying their time, and suddenly the peace and the happiness is interrupted by danger. So yeah, it's a very summery movie. It's a movie that kind of both define blockbuster, but also define that kind of fear of the water that goes with going to the seaside, because so many people were so afraid of that movie when it came out that they actually had like didn't want to go in the water when they were at the seaside. So it actually impacted the summer of people in a weird way, which is, I think, it's wonderful. He bullied an entire generation of kids in having like fearing the water.
Yeah, and I
which
mean,
I very much respect.
the film was probably launched in the summer, right?
Oh. Yeah, basically, like, before, the idea was like, oh, the summer is for like romantic comedies and stupid movies and so on, which after the success of Jaws, were kind of moved to Christmas time. So the whole trend of Christmas comedies was kind of also a result of Jaws creating the phenomenon of the summer blockbuster. Because there wasn't really, like, there was the period where big movies would launch would be around after the summer, like September to early December, because those were the movies that are already in consideration for the Oscars and the big festivals. But still, like, and also late enough in the year that people would remember them when the Oscar would come around. Because the problem is, if you make a film come out in March, by the time you go to award season, people will have forgotten it, because it was almost a year before. And suddenly, like, now having a huge budget film that makes a ton of money in the summer was more important and realistic, because like, Spielberg targeted school kids. It was like, oh, they're on vacation, their audiences, let's put a big film out exactly when they stop going to school. So they're gonna flood the cinemas, and it worked perfectly. Like, it shaped the next 50 years of the film industry. So
and until nowadays, it's a classic.
it is a classic. I still love it. It has a bunch of faults. Also, the sequels are horrible. But it's still as wonderful as it was at the time. And there have been so many copycat movies that try to capture the same kind of danger in the water. But I don't think a single film managed, really. Like, there's the Meg franchise, Deep Blue Sea, Reef, the weird, what was it? Blake Lively Stuck on a Rock movie, which I don't remember the title of, but it's The Shallows, maybe, whatever.
I don't remember.
But they never really recaptured the vibe of the original.
It's really hard to have the same impact. Also because it was the first, and also because it was such an interesting strategy in itself. So
yeah, so big summer movie, a shark eating people.
it's a great choice. Honestly, it's a great choice.
I know, I have impeccable taste. I really don't. I really don't.
Well,
Let's go to the romantic comedies.
romantic comedies.
Or
Well, the film, I think it's interesting to talk about, especially considering sharks. Bonjour Tristesse by Otto Preminger. It's a movie based in a book by Françoise Sagan, and I think it's a really special summer movie because it's not a happy movie, not at all. It's actually a very sad movie. The name Bonjour Tristesse, Good Morning Sadness, is already by itself a really sad title. But basically, the film is centered in this idea of the nostalgia, the lingering, the regret. And they basically use the beach as a panorama for all of that. Like, the protagonist is reminiscing on her own memories in the summer. Well, I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to spoil the experience to anybody watching. But the whole film is really contrasting by itself, because it's such a strong feeling, just such a strong aftertaste. But the beach kind of drives all the characters in this refreshing vibe, as I was saying. And also the beach is very metaphorical, as like this feeling of summer, and the fact that everything can change is also very metaphorical in that film, because the film is set in a flashback. Basically, during the winter, she reminisces over the summer.
oh, okay, this is a classic setup.
Yeah. She reminisces over the summer, which was the times she was happy, but she did commit the biggest mistake of her life that she really regrets, etc.
Mhm.
So it's really interesting to see it in that setting.
Okay, yeah.
And personally, I think it's a great movie, and I love how every resource is used in a different way to create this certain feeling.
Yeah.
And for example, the beginning of the movie is in black and white, and then when she goes for the flashbacks are in color.
Oh, I love
and
that.
the fresh, like the summer colors,
Wonderful,
yeah, no, it's beautifully shot, and all the colors of the sea, the Riviera, because it's in such a fancy mansion in the, I don't know, in the south of France, I suppose. So it's so beautiful. The red bikini, they have really interesting colors and interesting resources to reach out on the happiness of that period, how happy she was and how sad she is right now.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I do really like it a lot, and it's amazing. And it is starred by Jane Seberg, which is brilliant in that role. That role was made for her.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think that, as we were saying, summer can bring different feelings in different films depending on how you use them for.
Yeah, definitely. I will get the third film I will speak about kind of goes in a similar direction, but I want to switch to a film that's simpler, which where summer is just a very important part of the setting, and it's Sleepaway Camp. Sleepaway Camp is a 1983 slasher film, like horror slasher, set in a summer camp. And what's so particular about it is that instead of having the usual late teen young adults protagonist of slasher movies that only smoke weed and have sex and are killed because they sin, that kind of moralistic attitude with a virgin final girl and so on, the protagonists are early teenagers. They're basically kids. And first of all, anyway, they end up being slasher victims. So there's kind of a daring in oh no, we're killing kids. We're not doing. These are not young adults. These are not criminals. These are not people who deserve it. They're just kids on summer camp and end up horribly.
Morals don't stand a chance.
No. And also, it's very interesting because it recreates this setting of the summer camp so well, because it focuses so much on how kids are, how young teenagers are when they are away from their parents, because they are at summer camp, so without the supervision. And so the dialogue is insanely vulgar, because kids shout profanities at each other all the time. They curse, they insult, they play pranks on each other. So it's nice because they depict how horrible kids can be at that age, and we were all that kind of horrible in a way or the other. And it mixes that with all the summer activities, and also the dynamics of a summer camp, the crushes, the love triangles between young kids, the stealing the panties jokes, that the raiding the girls' bungalow, and so on. Well, at the same time, it puts kind of the horror in the hand of these teenagers as well. So it explores how horrible they can be. It's not I don't want to go into details and spoil much, but the killer in question is not a big burly man that preys on teenager. It's all between them, and so it's kind of very interesting to see how far the kind of the psychology of kids they create in the film can go in that setting of summer isolation. And summer plays a role in that, because it's kind of, it's fun time, so we can be ourselves and we can go as far as we want. And they take this going as far as we want, not just being horrible and having fun and not respecting the rules, but to the point of murder, actually. Which is a very interesting concept, even though the film is cheap, not perfectly written, has a very, very weird ending, and was heavily criticized at the time. Americas of the 80s, the Reagan presidency, you cannot have kids killing each other under Ronald Reagan. That doesn't fly. But it's actually you still find it very interesting. The sequels are, again, very, very stupid, but unlike Jaws, they're still kind of interesting. There's a very horrible part of me that loves them very dearly.
It's a type of intimacy that they can only be granted because of summer, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the fact that it's summer, so boys and girls can mix, which is kind of a forbidden thing, right?
Yeah, especially being set in the US.
Yeah.
There is this kind of fear of, oh no, during school they are separate, they wear their uniform and so on, but in summer camp, just because the parents want to get rid of them during the summer, or whatever, they mix. And also the people taking care of the kids don't really care.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, we need to handle 50 young teens. We're just gonna do the bare minimum and try not to get dragged down in this. And this kind of mix between negligence of the adults and wanting to break the rules from the kids creates an interesting mix that's specifically connected to summertime.
Yeah, exactly, definitely.
And also, interestingly enough, a small little detail is that some of the kills in the film are really summer related. So they got kind of creative with just, I don't know, killing one of the adults by putting a beehive in his shower while he's having a shower. Or some things that you come across in the summer, like, being stung by a bee, or having the problem with, there's a lot of bee on the seaside and the kids are afraid of them. They kind of turn them into something, let's turn this into slasher kills, which is, I don't know, I like it. I'm weird, but I like it.
Well, another film I would like to talk about, actually, it's not that intense. There's not
no stabbings?
Yeah, no stabbings, no beehives on showers. But there is an intense mental action, let's say. And it's also about this kind of freedom we have in the summer, the freedom to be with, the freedom to look, the freedom to do whatever you want to do, in a sense. And it is Pauline à la plage, which is a film by Eric Romer. And basically it's a film where an aunt and a niece, they go to the beach in Bretagne, and there they just do what every Parisian can do the whole year. And now they're in Britain, they just go to the beach, stare at the people, and enjoy a really big house for the two of them. But then she starts to meet an old love, and they start to get in love, intrigues, interests. And it's actually a movie about desire, in my opinion. And it's also something that is only allowed in the summer for two reasons. First reason is a physical reason. I mean, since they are in Paris, normally in Romer movies set in the beach, people are from Paris and they go to Bretagne to visit because they have houses there, and they meet all the other people who have houses from Paris and Bretagne, and people have this condition of meeting in the summer. And which is really interesting. People have summer friends.
Yeah.
And they have only they are granted the right to see them for a couple of weeks a year, and everything can happen, which is really interesting. And also, summer itself, we can say it's a sexy season because it is hot. People naturally wear less clothes, so people are in a way free to look at others, but also necessarily exposing yourself to the regard of others.
Absolutely.
So it's a really interesting film, and a really sexy film in a way, about the look, the eye of the one who looks, in a way. So to me it's very interesting, and it is more of a rom-com, if you can say it. I don't think it's that fair, but anyways, I do think it's very interesting, the freedom that summer allows people to have.
There is this thing of the concept of summer flings.
Yeah,
All those
definitely.
relationships that's connected to the freedom, right? It's like, those
Definitely.
relationships you only have in the summer, and they're okay to be short and shallower just because it's summer. Exactly.
It's summer. It's a summer thing.
That contributes to your idea of like, oh, it's a sexy season because you're showing more skin, but also you're allowing yourself to be shallower.
Definitely. That's something people know. You meet somebody in the summer, and you know when you'll stop seeing that person, and you're like, okay, like, this is a summer thing. This is a thing, and that's a really interesting point, and really true, actually.
Yeah, you don't never hear of like, I don't know, midwinter flings, Christmas relationships.
Yeah.
That's not a thing.
Which would make sense because it's cold.
Yeah.
And if it's too hot, people can't really like hug, be together because
exactly.
that's the last thing people want to.
Let's promote Christmas relationships.
Christmas flings could be a thing.
Could be a thing.
I mean, they could kind of be a problem, like in the Christmas dinner.
No, you just find someone to bring over a Christmas dinner so your in-laws don't break your ass on asking if you have a girlfriend or not.
Or asking why are you communist?
Exactly.
Like,
or why are you a
communist?
communist?
Like, oh, this is the person I brought.
This is Antoine, my Christmas fling.
And your family's like, okay,
okay,
thank you for bringing. And then the questions go to Antoine, not to you.
Exactly. Yes. Poor Antoine. We don't have an Antoine in the office.
No, it's a fantastic.
Every reference to people or things is
it's
purely
a mere coincidence.
coincidental.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, to bring the mood extremely down, but going again towards the point of that it doesn't. As the first film you mentioned, summer can also be used to create nostalgia or kind of actually highlight the sadness because of how universally attached to happiness it is. So if you create a high contrast, you can use it to kind of highlight how a time of the year, but also how a person, how badly a person is doing if they cannot enjoy summer. A great summer film, in my opinion, is Ari Aster's Midsummer.
Good choice.
Which is a very good summer movie. It's set in mid-June, actually in these days. The Midsummer Day was 2 days ago, technically speaking. And it's a movie about how miserable people can be in the summer. And what I love most about the movie, it's not much like the folk horror, which I love, or the acting or the story, but I love how colorful and spacious it is, and still it manages to be incredibly oppressive on the mind. It's a claustrophobic movie without claustrophobic shots. Like there is no darkness, there is no cave, there is no like small room. It's all open air. It's all colorful, flowers, beautiful, fields, but it's extremely oppressive because there is this contrast between the beauty of nature,
happy people
dancing in
flowers,
sheer clothes, naked people, and so on, and people having banquets and partying, and
all the good things you associate with summer.
Exactly, those create the horror in that because it's so. There is such a big opposition between those things brought to the extreme of this weird summer cult and how oppressed and depressed the main character feels because of the setup of the movie, because of the tragedy in her life, that kind of her being unable to enjoy the company of her friend, the relationship with her boyfriend, but also summer itself and the travel are actually what creates the claustrophobia of the film.
Yeah.
So and all this. Also, I love the idea of a very colorful horror film. Because we are so used to, oh, look what's hidden in the dark corner of the room. Having something so open air and so
something clear, right?
Clear, and it's still so scary because Ari Aster movies are so scary. They're much scarier than most other horror movies.
The terror is there ever since the beginning, and it presents itself as so. There's never like a turn where the bad guy is like, oh, it was me the whole time.
No.
Or something
you
like
know that something is wrong from the moment they get there. And it just goes worse and worse. But you're expecting it. but it doesn't make it any better
Yeah.
because it's not a jump scare. It's not a monster chasing someone. It's just a constant dread.
Yeah, exactly.
And the further you go into the summer, the worse it becomes.
Definitely.
And I don't know. I think it's kind of a genius concept from him to make something so intense and colorful become a movie
So
about
scary.
grief and anxiety.
Yeah.
It's a very good summer movie again.
Yeah.
It's just I can't wait to rewatch it on like an open air screening in the cinema. That would be amazing. Like, or you go to an open air cinema and watch Midsummer.
Yeah.
that's one of my bucket list for this summer, definitely.
Oh, and it is a really interesting pick. Very great summer movie.
A great summer movie again.
Yeah. Well, the third movie I picked to talk about is it's more of a lighter movie again. Doesn't mean there's no crime or weird things because it is a Godard movie.
Oh God.
But the movie I picked is Pierrot le Fou, which is one of the early films of Godard, which with Anna Karina and Jean-Paul Belmondo. And I just think it's a great summer movie because it sums it all. Again, maybe we could say it's a summer fling, but I don't think the film focuses on the on how fast it could end or how could it be. Of course, it ends very tragically.
Okay.
But I think the movie is about the extension of time during summer and how you, at least to me, and how time feels infinite. That I feel such a peace in that movie because they are both criminals and they're on the run.
Okay.
So it's a really like quick and uncertain setting, but they're just so crazy, the couple, that they don't really want to run. They want to run for the sake of running, actually, not because they're being chased or not because somebody's after them, etc. It's just they want to go to a place that there can be calmer, chiller. They're on the run. They invade a house. They have like a little bit of money. He buys a book. She buys a CD player, and they just chill by the beach.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That sounds great, actually.
Yeah, and they both love the sea and love the tranquility, and they have a lot of questions between both of them. Like they're different, but they were forced to be together, and they have different opinions on a lot of things. But in general, it's a really interesting movie. And at the same time, it's very, very fast-paced. It's also slow-paced in a way.
I think that's very interesting because, as you were mentioning just now, it's kind of like summer. While you experience it, time slows down. But looking back at it, it was like
So fast.
a second.
Yeah.
Exactly, and I feel that's a very. I haven't seen the movie, but I kind of like your description of it makes me want to see it because it's such an interesting concept to explore this time dynamic.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite Godard movies, and it was actually the first one I watched. But when I didn't like it at all.
Okay.
But I recognized I didn't watch it in the perfect setting. Then I watched
Was
it.
it summer?
It was actually.
Okay.
It was summer,
I
but
tried.
it was the pandemics. I was inside my room with a computer, and it was my first Godard movie, so I didn't have the mind for that at the time. Then I had the opportunity to watch it in the cinema, which was amazing and made me really, really like the movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just think it's a really special movie in a way, and it's all set in the beach, which is curious for a hit and run movie or like a crime movie. They're just crazy. Pierrot le Fou. They're just crazy, but they just want to enjoy their lives and just relax a little bit. I don't know, you're Bonnie and Clyde, if you want to say, like the couple that's on the run, etc. But I do think it's a very interesting movie.
I'm definitely going to watch this. Definitely.
Well, I think we made actually a really interesting selection here, right?
Yeah.
Thinking of our 6 movies.
Definitely, maybe Jaws was the only kind of obvious pick.
But it has
It has
very
a
much so
reason
the
to
rights.
be
Exactly.
But I think it's maybe also a very good summer watch list suggestions for our dear listeners.
Definitely.
And in full summer style, this room is 15 million degrees. So before we both melt, we're gonna say goodbye to you and thank you for listening to this wonderful episode of Echo's Interns Chronicles, and which we finally made together after so many months. That was incredibly awkward, and I loved it.
Me too.
Thanks so much for listening, and see you in the next episode.
Thank you. Would you like some water?
Yeah, of course. Will this episode end with just us drinking sparkling water?
Yeah, let's have a toast.
To your time at Echo.
I was gonna say to summer, but
To
to our
summer.
time at Echo went to summer.